writing it's not appreciated enough. And sometimes you can clearly put down your thoughts on paper and somebody will know who you are and they'll understand exactly what you're saying. Listen, understand things for yourself. I always use the first principle thinking, which is like boil everything down to first principle and reason from there. Take risks, but make sure they're calculated, and like risk reward has to be balanced. You have to be passionate, you have to work hard. I've put in my shift and I'm still putting in my shift. And one thing that I actually want to say to you is insist on high standards.
That is true.
Like very important in everything that you do.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning into this week's episode. We are joined by someone very special, and I can't wait for him to give us a bit more details into what he is up to, about his life, about his story in general, and we're going to get a lot more into that. But first, please introduce yourself to us, Joe.
My name is Joe Kinvi from Togo.
The jersey was intentional.
The jersey was intentional. Based in London, grew up in Ireland, and currently in Nairobi.
Okay, and do you want to tell us what you do?
What I do, I am a founder, an entrepreneur, currently building fintech for investment communities out of London, but focusing on groups and communities who want to co-invest together in a bunch of assets. So think startups, property, art, movies, debt. So that's what I'm currently building. We are, as we're speaking today, we have one customer, which is also me. It's my syndicate that we are using to beta test what we've built to date.
Yeah. Okay, and do you want to tell us how it's going so far? Or we'll get a bit into that as we...
It's been challenging as a founder because you are receiving feedback nearly on a daily basis and you're tweaking very small things that you didn't even know were problems. And I think we're very lucky in the sense that we have a huge community that is very vocal and they give us feedback regularly. And it's a blessing in disguise because now we know exactly what at least our community wants. And we're hoping that, the feedback that we're getting from them would be useful to other communities that we serve going forward.
Okay. I'm very interested to know more about that. Think of Joe as a kid. Now, was this always what you're doing today? Is it what you envisioned yourself doing? What were your dreams as aspirations when you were younger? When did you move from Togo to Ireland? Walk us through your journey and how it began.
Growing up, I was a very quiet child. You wouldn't believe it, but I was very...
Will not. He has not been quiet today.
I was a very quiet child and I was very inquisitive. I was very curious, but I felt like my environment didn't really allow me to be truly curious. I saw a lot of things happen around me. Like I pick up a lot of information. To your question, I really wanted to be an accountant. And the reason why I wanted to be an accountant was because one of my dad's friend was an accountant and he had a car. And every time he came to the house, my dad also had a car, but like when this guy came to the house, we used to wash his car. I think I was like, 10, 11. He used to give us money. So like in Togo, it's like some francs, 100 francs, which is like, a fifth of a dollar, 20 cents, 20p. And back then that was a ton of money. He was like, sometimes
he was a rich guy.
He was a rich guy giving me, sometimes he'll give you 500, which is like, whoa.
Oh my God.
So I really wanted to be like him. And I ended up being an accountant. Then I realized that I wasn't all that. So, yeah.
You ended up being an accountant.
Yeah.
So you made your dream come true. Okay. So in high school, did you, I think when I listened to your previous interview, you had with Pisitimi, who is someone that I also admire in this space, you had mentioned that you kind of moved to Ireland and you had to learn English and then, maybe move to a point where you could acquire a scholarship. So I just wanted to know a bit more about that as well for you, for your journey and then getting into university and then finding out that accounting is actually not what you want to do.
Yeah, so when I moved to Ireland in March 2005, I quickly realized that the English I knew was absolutely useless. Because one guy said hi to me. I'm like, what is that? And again, because I was so curious, I was like, I need to know this language before I start school. So I was going to the library.
So
learning.
the only thing the only language you knew at that time was French.
French and Ewe, which is the local Togolese language.
Okay.
Well, one of the Togolese languages. And yeah, like I was going to the library daily because I realized that if I don't know the language, I really can't do much.
And was it difficult socially to also not have that English on point? Like, how was that experience as well?
Yeah, you couldn't really play with people because all of you don't speak the language. And that kind of forced me to learn faster. And I got super lucky when we moved. So we were in a small house and then we moved house. And another family moved next door. And a guy called Michael and his family, he was maybe like a year or two younger than me. And like we were all in the same year, we're doing the same thing. So just being a close friend to Michael really helped me with my English. So like me and Michael play football all the time. And yeah, he helped me a lot. I think he corrected me quite a bit. And I was very open to that feedback because I really cared about learning the language. So yeah, now that I think about it, Michael was quite a big help. But yeah, I think like after a year, I was up to speed.
After a year? Oh, so it only took you a year to learn.
Well, I wouldn't say like it took a year, but like I can get about. Like I can have decent conversations. I think I could write a basic essay. It was hard, then it got easy, which is nice.
It was hard, then it got easy. Yeah. Okay, and then now, education-wise, how was that progression for you then to go over to university?
Well, I did all the things I liked. I liked business, I liked accounting, I liked geography, all these non-science stuff.
Were you also good at it?
I was good at it. I was really good at maths. I was good at the numbers, but I didn't like science. So then I went to do accounting and finance in uni. It's fine. I liked it. Because again, like I felt like since I was 10, it was very clear where I was going, accounting and finance. I didn't even apply for
anything else.
It was like, I think I applied for 5 different accounting courses, which like retrospect, I'm like, that was very stupid. But
like that was your dream and you were going for it headstrong.
Yeah.
And then where did the ball start to drop then? Now that you did accounting in university, I'm assuming you also then got an opportunity to do accounting post-uni. And then what was that like?
I didn't go into accounting. I realized that. So when I finished uni, I went to work for EY in auditing. And while you're doing that, you also get to study for your accounting qualifications. And as soon as I finished my qualifications, I'm like, is this what the top feels like? Because, I mean, at that stage, you've pretty much gone through the entire curriculum of accountancy. And I'm like, I like this. I like the skills that I have, but I don't want to be the one crunching the numbers. I want to be the one giving the numbers to be crunched, if that makes sense. And yeah, like...
Did you have something that gave you that moment of realization that this is definitely not what I want to do?
Yeah, I realized I'm not a back office guy. I was never a back office guy. It was in college so I was also very quiet in school. And then in uni, I met some really good people who, they didn't question my quietness. It was just more like, chill out, like relax. And yeah, I became more open when I was in uni and a bit more vocal as well. And that's when I started realizing that I don't like being the guy who's sitting at the back.
Just at the back of the corner, just doing his own thing.
Yeah, it's not me. So again, all accountants are different. I just realized I wasn't that back office guy. I want to be the one who's like giving you numbers to put in the P&L.
Yes.
And that was more exciting.
And then, so once you had this moment of realization, what was next?
Yeah, I quit and yeah.
Okay, wait. You quit. Had you already finished university back at this time?
Yeah, I finished my uni.
You were working at EQ.
EY,
sorry. And I'm assuming you had a decent salary because you had done through all the stops. So did you have a backup plan with this quitting going on?
I quit because I realized that that's not what I wanted to do. And it felt like if I didn't quit, I would just keep giving excuses and stay there for probably five years, probably longer, and get comfortable. And I didn't want to get comfortable. So that's when I quit.
That's when you quit.
With no backup plan. I remember exactly, I think it was like September 2014. I had €400 in my bank account when I was quitting that job. And it was a couple of months before Christmas, and I can feel the desperation. So I started talking to recruiters. I need a job, but I don't need an auditing job. And everybody that I spoke to, they're like, you only have auditing experience. We can't actually help you. And I met this lady called Joanne Pringle, I think. Yeah, this recruiter, I remember it. And she was sending me I'm like, listen, just give me something different. Because all the other recruiters were just sending me auditing jobs. I'm like, no, I'm leaving auditing for a reason. She sent me this internal audit job. The catch was I help this guy called Alex Moore to set up the internal audit department. So I'm like, it's kind of audit.
It's audit, but you now get tools to get experience outside of auditing.
Yes, but the experience I got was being an entrepreneur, i.e. building a function within a company, which I'm like, hell yes, that's my job. And I think it was towards sometime in October, I ran out of money. I was super desperate. I think my mom was giving me loans at that stage. And because I was so desperate, my back was against the wall. I went into that interview my life depended on it.
Yes.
Seriously, I killed that interview. And I got the job.
And you got the job.
I got the job. I think when I spoke to Alex after, he said something along the line, maybe I'm paraphrasing wrong here, but we had a candidate that was probably better than you, had more experience.
Wow.
But we loved how passionate you
were.
And at the back of my mind, I'm like, you didn't
know
how
it was desperation.
I had nothing. I'm like, if I didn't get this job, I might have to go back and beg EY to take me back.
Yeah. Let me just take you a bit back to the moment where you're working for EY, which is a reputable brand. It's one of the top 5.
Great company, by the way.
Great company as well. Did you get people, opinions of people close to you asking you why this is a decision you would decide to make without necessarily a fallback plan? I know you had this urge, but stereotypically people would end up in big firms. Maybe let's say here, let me not name drop. Maybe if you land a job at Safaricom, for example, which is sometimes considered maybe one of the pinnacles of finance, and then you're there and it's like, okay, I'm here, I can't leave, I can't, people are scared to make that move. So I just want to know what that was like. Did you have a bit of dissonance? You're taking loans from your mom. Was she supportive in the process, or did you know you were just going to make it work somehow?
My mom, I don't know if it's a good or a bad thing, but my mom always encourages the terrible decisions I make. I think that's mother's love, right? She's always supportive. And I think she's given me that will to try. So even if it's a stupid decision, I think she lets me go on because she's like, yeah, you'll find out for yourself. So my mom was supportive of my decision, and the whole thing is as long as you're happy. And yeah, it was very nice and reassuring because it was a very prestigious job.
Yes.
You know exactly what the path looks like. You're there for 10, 12 years to become partner, owners of the business. And no disrespect to any of the partners there, but I just didn't see myself being any of them. And I had a vision that wasn't very well ironed out, but I knew that being a partner wasn't one of them. Or at least being a partner at a consultancy firm wasn't one of them. And and
then you just took the leap. Okay, so all right, you've made this decision and now you've desperately put yourself out there and you've got this job. What was the experience like? Because you were still auditing, but there was a bit of interest in there. So what was the difference working there instead?
It was amazing. The first year was so fire. Because we're setting up the department, there's a lot of work to do in Ireland. Again, like you go around, you talk to all the departments at this huge bank, because you need to understand what needs to be done. So I loved it. And I was traveling quite a bit. Because we didn't have any audit to do in Ireland, we're now doing audits in other countries. And this company is 30,000 people. So my first trip was, I went to London for 3 weeks. I went to South Africa for 3 weeks. I think I went to Boston. I went to Poland.
Wow, that's my dream.
I was 25, living the best life. It was amazing. And then the second year of that job, we now have done all the setup and we had to do audits. And then stuck in the itch, I'm like, well, you know, I didn't like audit in the first place.
Now it's into the real gist of the job.
Yeah.
You've set up everything. Now you need to do
You need
it.
to do the job. I realized that audit is great. And in this job, that's when I learned writing. Alex, my boss, was an amazing writer. So when you do internal audit, we go into a bit of detail. But at the end, you have to like issue an audit report, which is usually like a page and a half. And this guy was so meticulous about getting the reports right. And back then, when I look back at it, I'm like, oh, Alex, stop it. But now, I'm like, it's probably one of the best skills I've learned. And you just learn. Writing is it's not appreciated enough. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you can clearly put down your thoughts on paper and somebody will know who you are and they'll understand exactly what you're saying while you're using the simplest words.
No, I'm the biggest at, I love writing. I think when I want to bring my ideas to life, I'll probably do a presentation about it so that I know exactly what I want to visualize, you know, so I'm definitely a support of that. But, you know, how did writing then, impact you knowing this piece of information?
Maybe a couple of years later when we were starting HoaQ, there was a lot of writing involved. And there's still a lot of writing involved, like writing memos, writing comms, writing newsletters. I think I wrote our newsletters for like 2 years by myself. Of course, with the help of my partner, but like I write these huge paragraphs. And I love this so much because I can concisely transfer my thoughts onto whatever, like newsletter. And I loved it. So that writing kind of followed me and I still take it very seriously. I've been writing an email since last week. I'm still not finished. I'm still writing it. And that email is due to some people and one guy has chased me up like 2 or 3 times. And I'm like, yes, the email's coming, but I just need it to be right. I need it, and even if it's gonna be a 2-page email, I will do that. Yeah, because like the best pieces that you write is like when the reader finished reading it, they don't have any more questions. They don't have any questions. You've literally addressed every single point. And I think I improved on my learnings on my writing when I went to Stripe. Stripe had a huge writing culture. So like you're reading this.
How did we move to Stripe?
Oh yeah, we'll get there. We'll
get there. Sorry.
But like just on the writing piece, Stripe had a huge, like a great writing culture, and Patrick Collison, the CEO, would send these lengthy emails, and I loved reading them so much because they give you enough that you can't reply. I'm like, Patrick, about this point, I don't really get it. So like for your audience, people who don't know Patrick Collison, you should Google him, watch some of his interviews. He's a genius. He's literally a genius. He makes me feel so unaccomplished.
You need some people like those in your life.
Patrick and John, they're so articulate. Like when they finish talking, you're like, wow, I'm such a failure. But they're great.
I need to speak to Patrick and John.
They're amazing. Yeah. I don't know if they've been to Kenya, but I know they've definitely been to Nigeria. But yeah.
It's okay. We're a worldly platform. Yeah. We'll get there. Yeah. Yes. So, yes, you were also explaining the move.
Yeah. So I left State Street also without a backup plan.
This seems to be something
Yeah.
Would you say it's part of your personality, being able to let go of things when you feel they no longer serve you, even without knowing what the fallback plan is?
I'm better now.
You're better now.
I'm better now. Because
was there something that taught you a lesson on doing that?
Yeah, when you get to a certain, I was younger, like I was in my early 20s, and I think I had enough freedom to just hop around. I feel like as you get older, you can't just drop things anyhow, because you probably have a family that relies on you. Like you can't just be like, I'm quitting this job, peace. You can't do that. Or like right now I'm building a company. I can't just be like, guys, you know what? This doesn't serve me anymore.
Okay, fair.
No, you can't do that.
You can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I left. At this stage, I think I left like in the summer. So I enjoyed my summer, had a good time. I went to all the festivals. Then it was time to, go back into the workforce again because your boy didn't have any more money left.
Unemployed.
Yeah, he was broke again. Yeah, I was quite broke in my 20s, very broke.
But living life.
Yeah, I enjoyed life like thoroughly. Then I started so at this stage I wanted to go into tech. I was very adamant to go into tech because I wanted to go into tech in a startup.
Why?
Because I felt like all the stuff that I learned in university would finally be useful. When I was working in audit, I didn't have to put together financials ever. I can review them, but like I've never had to.
You're not the one responsible for doing the.
So yeah, I joined this. I got super lucky. A girl called Mimi, who was a friend of a friend. Her brother was building an insurtech startup. This is 2016. A guy called Jesus. He gave me a shot. Like I always mention Jesus in all my interviews because I think he's the first person who was like, you know what? Yeah, come, give it a try. And I worked for Jesus for about 6 months.
As what were you doing for Jesus?
I was supposed to be like a finance lead type of thing, but I was doing a bunch of stuff. I think back then I was even doing product work without knowing I was doing product work. And I didn't even know what product was at this stage. But I was just doing things that had to be done. And I loved it. I loved being at that early stage of a company. There's
a lot of fulfillment that comes with it and learning.
The other side is it doesn't pay well.
It doesn't pay well.
I'm sure you know. Everybody who works in startups, it doesn't pay well, right?
It's fulfilling, but at what cost?
Yeah, at what cost, right? And when I was living, the money wasn't great, but I loved it. So at the end of that year, because at this stage I was fully qualified, probably had like 5 years of experience, and I went to take a financial reporting job that paid me really well. Actually, specifically, it was 64,000 euro a year.
Wow.
But I hated it. I'm not even gonna name the company. I hated that job, but the money was great. So as I was navigating this like kind of weird dynamic of money fulfillment, I said to myself, I need to go back into tech because I loved it. But I just need to work for a company that pays me a little bit more. That summer, I tried to build my own startup. I didn't know how to build a startup. Let me not even sugarcoat it. It was terrible. It was
what
bad.
Was the startup?
Sis, come on. It was called Sound Hub. And I wanted to build a platform to connect musicians and content creators. So this was like when content creation was kind of popping up. And I had a bit of like, I was doing stuff. I was helping my friend as a music manager. So, and we struggled a lot to get our...
job with the music manager?
So while I was doing all these things, I was doing music management part-time, right?
Okay.
And I was helping my friend who was, he was decent.
Is music a side passion that you have?
Yeah, huge.
Okay.
I'm a huge music fan.
Okay.
And yeah, I was helping my friend and we struggled to get our songs out to content creators, publishers, etc. And I'm like, I'm going to build something to solve this problem. So it was a problem that I felt, except I didn't know how to build a startup. Then like I was paying this engineer, I think we were agreeing like $3,000. I was paying him monthly. It was
$2,000 monthly.
No, $3,000 to build the thing.
Oh, to build a thing.
It was big L.
Learning.
Big L. Learnings and then I got super lucky. And also this I had my hand in a couple of the music management. This was also my first, around this time I started a community of African professionals in Ireland. It's a non-for-profit. It still runs great. Amazing team now. And back then I was the president and the co-founder, and we used to do events. So we'll go to the like of Meta, Google. They give us their space and we'll host a bunch of African professionals.
Oh, wow.
It was amazing. It was quite, so when I was doing this, it really helped me with my not so great job. So like I'll work till 5 and then I'll go do other things. So it kind of kept me balanced.
That was the balance for you.
Yeah.
I mean, but if it seems like you were working 24/7 then.
I worked a lot. I mean, I've been working since I was 17.
I mean, did you feel like it limited your social life experiences outside of work? Like
No.
some people feel
I
put too much of my time into work. I didn't have time to think of me.
I had a great social life and I still do.
Yeah.
Like when I was at university, I had a part-time job. And yeah, I think most of the weekends when I'm there, I'm hungover. What do you do? I was 20.
Yeah.
No, I had a great social life.
You did have a good balance, you would say.
And the things I did, I enjoyed.
So that's where the caveat is.
Yeah. I enjoyed doing APNI stuff. That's the name of the organization. I enjoyed the music stuff. And yeah, like those things kept me, it kept me social.
Yeah.
And also kept me quite fulfilled.
I really like you saying that because I'm such a true believer in that. If you really don't like the job that you're doing, then do something that you're passionate about, even if it doesn't pay or serve you, it will pay you in fulfillment, or at least you're just doing something that, you're passionate about. And somehow, some way, they're all gonna interconnect, and there's gonna be a middle ground where you're gonna be still fulfilled about what you're doing with your life instead of selling your soul to corporate. Yeah. So I would say, wanted to throw that in there. Advice for you if you're listening.
Yeah.
And then now is it after you worked for this job that you moved to, I want to go now into when you started building your own tech company after Paystack, and then after these experiences, like,
I'll do it quickly. I'll do it in 30 seconds.
Yes.
So went to get that job, which was paying me really well, but I didn't enjoy. The reason why I mentioned APNI is because I met this guy, kind of knew him, but not really, at one of our events. He told me about his fintech startup. They were looking for somebody to become their finance lead.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was the reason why I was sending that. Yeah, that's the connection. I joined them. Long story short, we sold the company to Stripe in 2019.
So you did end up working with this guy, and how long did you guys?
We worked for maybe 18 months. So I joined as a head of finance, help set up the finance function,
Can I ask how much you guys exited for?
Yeah, it's public. You can Google it. It is. 8 figures. Not Kenyan shillings.
Okay. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Can you at least give us a bit of advice on how to have a successful exit strategy? Did you guys already know that you were going to exit while building what you were building, or were you just building, trying to see the next big thing, or did you already know that you were planning for an exit, or what was that like? We
were in survival mode most of the time, at least while I was there. And we built a great product. It was probably the best on the market. And we just needed to sell them to the customers that needed it. But we're in survival mode all the time. The founders are great. They're very thoughtful about building product, and they understand. We talked about exits, and Stripe was always like, when we used to play this game, it's like, okay, so who will we exit to at lunchtime? We had these long 2-hour lunches. Again, then we worked till 10 p.m. But side story. And we always put Stripe on the top of the potential acquirers lists, which was, like, we're young. Of course, you want to sell to the best.
You want to sell to the best.
And in 2018, Stripe released Stripe cards or issuing, and they needed a solution. We're selling that product. And we're like, of course, we can sell to Stripe. Yeah. We reached out to a couple of people. We got in there, and one thing led to the other. It got to the founders. They're like, let's meet these guys who are building this thing. And the two founders, Nala and Shekinah, went to meet Patrick in Dublin. At this stage, like, Stripe was a unicorn. Like, it wasn't a small thing.
It wasn't.
They talked. He told them the solution, and I don't know if they've ever told this story, but on their way back to the office from the meeting with the founders, well, John and Patrick, I think it was just Patrick. Patrick sent them an email, and the subject read, "Acquisition ? In their own words, they nearly crashed the car.
Oh.
Yeah, they nearly crashed the car. They came back, and because I was head of finance, I think I knew. I was probably like the next person who knew. But these things,
I would have probably lost my shit as well.
I would have also crashed. I'll crash my car. And like again, just to fast forward, this was like late 2018. We wrapped up the acquisition in April 2019.
Wow.
Yeah. It was
all finally paid off.
Yeah,
you know?
And I will give credit to a huge amount of luck as part of that process, because a lot of things would have gone wrong. We got audited in the middle of the acquisition, but like one advice I always give to people is always be ready. When I came, because I set up the finance function from scratch, and remember I was an auditor and an accountant, a tiny bit lazy, so I automated a lot of the processes. So when it came to DD, due diligence, it was relatively faster because everything was in place.
It was already in place.
And because we had to be audited in the middle of this acquisition, I single-handedly did the entire audit in 2 weeks. Now, my EY days were finally paying off.
They were paying off.
Paying
I
off.
always believe your journey, they all somehow come together.
Yeah, and it was just such a surreal experience. Getting on calls at 2 a.m. in the morning because the guys were in San Francisco, right? Mm-hmm. Flying to SF while the deal still wasn't closed. You know,
still hoping.
We were in SF. We were in San Francisco the 9th of April when that deal closed. And like, there was just this huge relief.
Wow.
Knowing that we got this thing across the line. And also at this stage, I had a bit of debt. It's just a small 15,000 euro.
Small money.
Yeah, it was. The advice I'll give to anybody is like, avoid debt at all costs. Seriously. Right?
Yeah.
But like when we got paid, I literally cleared my entire debt, and I haven't been in debt since. It's a very nice feeling.
Wow. Yeah. Would you say that was one of the things that would be one of the regrets that you had going, or did you need the money at the times you were? Would you have done something different?
I could have done a lot of things different, but like I have lived great experiences that I don't regret it. And I got lucky. Again, some people never get lucky, and they probably had to pay that debt over a long period of time. Except I got lucky, and I was able to pay in one day. Like I literally woke up, the money that we got paid, I got mine, and I just cleared my entire debt in like 1 minute. It was a great feeling.
Great feeling.
Now I wish I used that money for something else, but it was a really good feeling. And that's why I always give credit to luck. But we also we were ready to be lucky. I think.
You were ready to be lucky.
Yeah.
Luck is when preparation meets opportunity, is
exactly.
what they say.
Yeah. So we did, I think we did good work.
You did do good work.
Yeah. I mean, getting acquired by Stripe was such a flex.
Obviously was
such
a flex.
But yeah, we did it.
This was 2018? 2019. Okay. And then COVID strikes.
We were in office for a year. We were in office literally a year. COVID struck in March 2020. And again, this is where I'm talking about luck. This acquisition even started a couple of months later, it wouldn't have happened.
It wouldn't have happened.
Right. Or a lot of things could have gone wrong, but it didn't. So timing, all that kind of stuff. So Stripe, I did a lot of stuff for this company at Stripe because I was one of the people who knew the company really well. And then Stripe wanted to sunset or close this company internally. I did that as well. And I decided so I had the option to either go into the account management team, the wider Stripe, or look for other opportunities. That's one thing I love about Stripe is they'll always give you the chance to find what you cared about. At this time, late 2021, Stripe has already acquired Paystack, and I'm like, I want to go work for Paystack. So a girl called Ekene, who was Shola, the CEO of Paystack's chief of staff. So I was pounding Ekene, Ekene, please, can you give me a meeting with Shola? And I ended up getting a meeting with Shola. And yeah, like long story short, I got a job there on a secondment for a year. And I did that. So I spent a lot of time in Ghana, maybe like 1 or 2 months in Kenya, working with FALGU that we talked about. And yeah, I did that up until exactly a year ago.
And can I just confirm what you were doing at Paystack?
I was doing financial partnerships.
Financial partnerships.
Yeah, on the expansion team. And
wow, you were really on this. You really took math and really just expanded it throughout your entire career.
I think maths is, one thing I like about maths is it's not debatable. It's 1 + 1 = 2. Like we can run around, we can jump up and down.
But this is it. This is what it is.
And I also found it easier because you're not right or you're wrong. It's not very gray. Audit was a big gray for me, like these gray areas. And I don't, at least back then, I wasn't really good at navigating gray areas. But as you get older, you realize that you have to navigate gray areas. So that's a muscle I had to build as I got older. So
can I ask how you navigate gray areas?
Listen, understand things for yourself. I always use the first principle thinking, which is like boil everything down to first principle and reason from there. Elon Musk always talk about it, which is if you look at this cup, like we can go to the bottom of it, figure out, okay, how did we get to this cup? So a tree had to be cut down, you bring it to a factory, and then you have to make the plastic, and then you have to make the tea or the coffee to where we are today. Like you can do enough research to see how this thing, came about. And when you rebuild it, you now understand the process. So I did a lot of that. Like sometimes you're listening, you learn so much more by just shut the fuck up and listen. So like I had to navigate, like life isn't straight and you have to be patient, listen, and just be reasonable. Like, be reasonable, also be objective.
Be reasonable, but objective.
Sometimes as humans, I think we can be emotional, and I'm a very emotional guy. And when you're acting with emotion, you probably end up doing things that when you look back at it, you're like, yeah, you know what? That was a very stupid decision.
Decision that you made.
So yeah. So that's how at least I think about navigating gray areas.
Listening
intently,
and being objective about the decision that you make. That's really good advice right there. Okay, now we're getting into, I'm guessing, where you are today, which is now founding HoaQ. So walk us through that. I hope I didn't butcher the name.
HoaQ is fine. So HoaQ stands for half of a quarter and 12.5%. And that's where it's an acronym of half of a quarter.
That is the most Joe thing.
It's actually not a Joe thing. It's not a Joe thing.
Or I don't know, I would presume, because like that's a lot of numbers reference.
It's numbers, right? Yeah. But it wasn't, HoaQ wasn't my idea.
Okay.
HoaQ was my partner's, Newbie's idea. Newbie, I've known Newbie for a while, but we started working together when I joined Stripe. He actually played a huge role in the acquisition, and that's Newbie's story to tell. But yeah, we started like just thinking about how we can become investors and invest in founders across the continent. This was in March 2020, because I told him in 2019 that after this acquisition, my guy, I'm not doing any more side thing. Like I didn't do any side, in 2019. I was tired. But 2020, we picked it back again, and Newbie and I were just meeting every Saturday talking about what this could be. I think we did this for like maybe 3 months consistently. And that's, we landed on HoaQ, and we started talking to folks who also wanted to invest like us. And we raised, I think, 17,000 euro, which is about $20,000. We invested in 2 companies. And that's how HoaQ started. We did it many, many, many times. And now as I'm speaking now, we've invested about $3.5 million in about 100 companies.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And throughout that process, we learned a ton. And that kind of paved the way to platform, which is what I'm building today. As we were building HoaQ, a lot of people were coming to us like, hey guys, I like what you guys are doing. Can you please teach me? and we'll give them the playbook. You do this, you do that. But like, it wasn't very easy to do. So, and also we couldn't find a platform that we could use for HoaQ. So like, what I did was a lot of the processes were low code or no code. Newbie and I built it ourselves. We automated a lot of processes, and we decided to build a product out of that. And over time, while we started building last year, and of course, when you're building, you're talking to people, you're getting feedback, and more people want to do syndication. They want to invest in stuff. They don't necessarily want to invest in just startups. What else do you want to invest in is the question I ask. Oh, I want to buy like a house with my friends. I want to do art projects. I want to do these things. And I'm like, all this wild thing people want to invest in. And then we went and do research, and it turned out that out of, I think it's like 19 out of 20 people that want to invest in anything from the diaspora to the continent invest in property. I'm like, whoa.
It's the African stereotype.
It's huge.
Well, it's huge.
And on the property piece alone, you also see that mortgages are very high on the continent.
100%.
So like, can we not just figure out how to channel the money from there to here? Anyway, the more people I speak to, like this morning I woke up, one of my friends texted me. She's like, oh, I met 2 people at an event yesterday, and they have syndicates and they want to talk to you about how to use a platform. I'm like, thank you, sis. So I was also at an event last night. I was speaking to somebody I knew, and they're telling me about how they've raised 2 million. I'm like, what platform are you using? And she's like, yeah, no, I wanted to talk to you about what you're building. So I feel like we've gotten enough validation points to build a fintech for investment communities focused on multi-assets. Meaning that's not just startups. It could be a bunch of things. Not everybody is ready for that startup risk, because I'm sure you work at a startup and the risk is just very high. But you and your 10 friends put money into property in Nairobi, the returns are 15, 20%.
Yeah.
Easily. Could be more, could be less as well.
Less risk.
But like when things go wrong, that property is still there.
Yeah.
Same thing with like movies, art, a bunch of stuff that I know that a diaspora want to invest in. I want to invest in personally. I'm actually working on a property syndicate with my brother, and again, leveraging our platform and technology. Because I come to Nairobi, I've been here for 3 weeks, maybe 2-3 times a year. I know enough people that come to Nairobi that will at least stay in a place that we own for 6 months, easily. Like, why don't we own this place? So we're doing it. Me and my brother are doing it. With like my friend Kobe, I have a friend in South Africa, and we're thinking about this particular project on a multi-city base. So we're looking for people who want to invest in, they want to invest in Africa, and they also travel to Africa. They travel for work or holiday. And we're going to start with Nairobi, Cape Town, and Accra. 3 cities.
Those are 3 good cities to start that.
1-bedroom apartments. People in the syndicate, when they're traveling, they can stay there at a very low cost. Or like I worked out a number, it worked out about $30 a night for the syndicate members. And if it's not been booked, we can just put it on Airbnb.
I don't think there's less room for you to not win in that situation if you're able to do that. The risk is quite. And
this is the things that like I see, purely because I travel, and I meet so many people. Like one friend, a lady called Mo Odele, she's a lawyer, and we had a conversation, and she said she's paying about $100 a night while she's here, and like, Mo, give me that money.
Let me do a better one for you.
Not even that. Like I'll probably do the same work, but like, Mo, why don't you pay less, and at the end of the year I'll pay you dividends from your own money? Like, come on. It's hard. It's a win-win.
It's a win-win.
And I really care about ownership for us as Africans in Africa, Africans in the diaspora. And with technology, we can really enable so much more. And that's what I really want to build. And I see myself building this for the next 20 years.
To see yourself building this for the next 20 years.
It's important. Economic empowerment is, so like we have independence, but we're not really economically independent.
That is true.
So like, why can't we come together and start that economic empowerment? In Africa, we've been doing community for a while.
Yeah.
We save together. I saw a company called Carbon today that announced group savings. It's a lending company. Community is what we know how to do.
We know how to do the community stuff.
Yeah.
Chama is what we call it.
Yes. Like you go across the continent, there's different names for it. But we've been doing this for years. Can we leverage our communities to now become real owners while still getting paid?
Take the economical power back to ourselves.
We need to start owning. Look across, like when the place I'm staying at, I see a lot of non-Black people who are buying up the place.
Common trend going on right now.
Why are we not doing it? Yes, we don't have enough money.
Yes.
Can we pool our small money together and start owning shit? Excuse me.
I think that is, do your thing.
Yeah.
I think that is one of the best strategies on how we can actually start economically empowering ourselves, because it's true. It's not just here in Nairobi where we see a lot of foreigners or white people who come and, they're owning some of these buildings. We have a lot of Chinese representation here right now, and not just here, different countries across the continent. So it's something that we should be alarmed about, and we can start, if we can start thinking of ideas of what you've mentioned, I think that is one step that we can go ahead and empower ourselves. So I am here for it. I already love the product, and I can't wait to see the progress that you're going to make within the next 20 years and more. I think what you're now doing is something very impactful. It summarizes everything that you've been doing to get to whatever the level that you are right now. And I really enjoyed this conversation. I think one last question that I wanted to ask you before we close off is, what are some of the things you look for when you're investing in companies here, and what's the process?
When we started, I don't like using I because every single investment I've made personally has been through HoaQ, and it's been done with a lot of people. And when we invest, we spend a lot of time trying to invest in the right people. When you strip everything away, investment is in people. The people will make it work, they'll make it fail, and you really want to do a lot of work to understand that these people can actually build great businesses. We've had quite a good number of companies fail last year, and all of them, bar one, was due to the founders. Again, I'm not saying they did something bad, but they have the destiny of the company in their hands, and they're entirely responsible for the success or the failure of that company. So when you're investing in startups, you invest in people, you're investing in that team, you're investing in a great idea, hoping that that founder or that team will turn into reality, something, a product or service that they can sell. It's all down to the people. You back people, and people build great companies. Yeah.
Okay, and can I ask, do you have a standard range of how much you invest in companies, for how much?
Because it's a syndicate, we write very small checks. We've done as low as $5,000. We've done as high as $350K. Average is about 25, 30. Last year was about 20K. But that's the average. So it kind of fluctuates depending on the season. So between 20 or 30K.
Okay,
Yeah.
Got you. How can people then reach out to you? Should they be interested in having their investments? What are the timelines like? In case they're listening, where can
This
they
is for
reach out
startups,
to you?
right?
Yes.
So if you go to our website, HoaQ.co, we have a process where you can just fill in the form there. We review them weekly. And if it's a fit, we have an investment thesis. And also we have an investment thesis, but also we know that the community likes certain types of companies they want to invest in. So if it's a fit, something that the community likes, then we'll do our work and bring it to the community. we do this thing called Meet the Founder at least once a week, where we speak to founders. And yeah, the community will speak to you. Like we had one yesterday, and I felt so bad for the founder. I think we asked so many questions, but that's really important because like that person is responsible for the success, and due to the high risk, people want to make sure that like, if I put my money here, what's the likelihood of it failing?
And they're able to answer the tough questions that you have.
So, and that's the founder side. On the investor side, if you're somebody who wants to learn about angel investing and get started, we want to be your place to get started. We have built a bunch of resources. We charge a membership fee because, we have to be sustainable somehow. And you can come join the community, you learn a ton. Again, I do like these onboarding classes every 2 weeks where I just talk to people about our HoaQ is, remind them of the risk because it's super risky. And yeah, like some people have kind of talked off the ledge. You're like, okay, this is not for me. I'd actually rather people do that instead of going in, lose 10,000 and be like, oh yeah, Joe told me to do this. No.
And then blame you.
And when you think about it, that's just, again, one asset class. I want to get to the stage where we have 100 syndicates and people can come and pitch projects on platform and we can send it to the right syndicates. I think together we can do so much. Like our syndicate has done 3.5 million. Add 2 zeros to that, that's 350 million. Can we invest 350 million in Africa as a diaspora? I think we can. We just need to have the right channel, the rails. We need to have trust, and we need to see the returns, right? And the startup returns are much longer, but you can quickly see property return. You see debt return, which is even much, much shorter. And yeah, I think we can do a lot together.
There's a lot that we can uncover together.
Yeah.
Awesome. I've really enjoyed this episode, Joe. I do have just a few questions that I ask.
We have more questions.
Just to wrap up the episode the right way. Questions that I do ask each and every one of my guests at the end of every episode. And the first one that I have for you is, what advice would you give to someone who's looking to get to where you are today, and why? What advice would you give?
Take calculated risks.
Take calculated risks.
Take risks, but make sure they're calculated. And like risk reward has to be balanced. You have to be passionate. You have to work hard. I've put in my shift and I'm still putting in my shifts. And one thing that I actually wanted to say to you is insist on high standards.
That is true.
Like very important in everything that you do. Because when you're the best, like it's unquestionable. And then when you're at par with people, then like people are picking. But don't give people a choice to pick. Like when you can, be the best at what you do.
Be the best.
Be the best. Like it's no compromise. Just be the best. Not just in Nairobi or not just in Kenya. Everybody should be playing at global standards. And I realized that very quickly when I moved to London. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is like a whole different ball game. But I think everybody has the potential to be great, and we should strive daily to be great.
I love that. Okay. And do you have any regrets or things that you wish you did differently throughout your journey?
Well, I wish I didn't quit these jobs.
You wish you didn't quit this job?
Yeah, like when you think about it in retrospect, I could have prepped better. But again, had I prepped better, I wouldn't have been so desperate in these interviews. And yeah, like again, that's why I use the term calculated risks.
Some of your risks were not calculated.
They're very stupid.
I still do think that things panned out.
And like again, put yourself in a position to be lucky. That's it. Like it's so important.
Put yourself in a position to be lucky.
Yeah, to be lucky. Yeah.
How do you put yourself in a position to be lucky?
Take opportunities, try things. I said yes to this interview because I just have no idea where it's gonna go. And as we said, this can go.
Some goals.
You never know. You never know.
And you have to stay ready.
I've tried so many things. I iterate, let it fail. You have to keep trying. Like we're humans, and humans have evolved purely because of trial and errors. And we have to keep trying. When you try something that doesn't work, please don't do the same thing again. This doesn't work. Move on to the next thing. Like, and keep trying till you find like
What
your
does.
thing. And I feel like what I'm building now is a result of so many things that I've done, and it's all coming
100%.
together. Like I started coming to Africa regularly since 2020 because of the pandemic, and Kenya was actually the first place I came to, and I've been coming since. Not just Kenya, but like other countries on the continent. And every time I come, I'm learning something new. I'm learning, I'm talking to people. I'm going to the back end of this city, trying to just learn. And because I want my work to be in Africa. So like Africa
have
is
to
not
be
just
on the ground.
Yeah, you have to be on the ground. But also Africa is huge. Like being in Kenya and Nigeria isn't on the ground. You need to
Yeah.
go to Mozambique,
Yeah.
Angola, Cape Verde, all these countries that are like we call tier 2 or tier 3. You have to be.
You need to be there.
Yeah. And of course, Africa is beautiful. So, whenever you're there squeezing out a key holiday,
Is Nairobi your favorite city?
Nairobi is such a livable city. Like coming
That
here.
is such a politically correct answer.
No, it is. It's a livable city. No,
Yeah.
because I've stayed in other cities that are not as livable. Not in a bad way.
Understandable.
Like Nairobi has its gems. You don't have to leave the city to do so many things. Like you have the national park in your city. How many countries actually have a national park in the city? None. So there's so much to do in Nairobi. That's why I use the term livable.
Okay, that is true.
And the coast is an hour flight away. So Kenya is it's a great place.
So top one. Thank you.
Okay, let's
Okay,
you're
but
missing.
after-
You're missing. Yes.
All right, I was gonna ask you one last question, but I think you've already summarized everything.
Okay.
But we always end the episode with a powerful parting shot.
Can I ask a question?
Feel free.
What makes you tick?
What makes me tick?
Yeah.
What
You can ask that. You can answer however you want.
is tick like makes me
Yeah. What makes you like?
frustrated?
No.
Like-
Well, okay. Maybe it's
Maybe
my
tick
English.
is-
My English
yeah.
Irish is coming in now. Like, what gets you up in the morning?
What gets me up in the morning? I think once I started taking tech more seriously, especially through this platform, My Tech Story Africa, and then slowly having people on board to come to help me bring my vision to life, and also just putting my all into what I do at Honeycoin, which is the content and PR lead. I think what gets me up in the morning is now that drive to make this platform a success, to make an impactful change in whatever way that I can in the tech landscape or in the startup space, and to learn as much as possible so that in future I'm able to start to keep doing or find that one thing that now is what my product is going to be or what vision is going to be. So I think that willingness to just learn and to make this work and being really passionate about what I do in terms of speaking and combining with my passion for tech, I would say that's one of the things that gets me up.
I love it.
Yeah. Nobody's ever asked me a question on the platform.
I mean, we have to kick off season 3 with a bang, right?
Period.
Yeah.
So you did say that Nairobi is the best city.
Nairobi, it's a great, livable city. Let me just tell you, I can't be claiming Nairobi when my partner's from Dar es Salaam.
That's where
Let me
the
just-
trouble is.
You have to be careful
the
with
root of the problem.
I just want
It's a livable city.
I want to be able to go home in peace.
I'll take that.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much, man. I've
thank you
actually
for having
really
me.
enjoyed this
It's really good.
recording. And for you who's listening, thank you so much for reaching this far. This has been an absolutely amazing conversation that we've had with Joe. If you want to keep up with him, we'll also leave some useful links in the description. And you've heard it from him, how you can reach out to HoaQ, whether you want to be an investor or whether you want to be the one in being invested in. There's opportunity for everyone out there. So yeah, make sure you check out mtsafrica.co, which is our website. Amazing new stuff happening. We also have newsletters coming in, and we have the new global series that is officially up. So you guys need to check it out. Amazing things happening, and follow us at MTS, My Tech Story Africa, on all the major social media platforms. Yeah, my name is Alice Kanjaja, your lovely host, and I'll see you in the next one.